Hello everybody, meet again with me, Noor Maria Agustina. You can call me Miss Noor in a course Education and Teaching Practices. I hope you are doing well today. And this course will be in a hybrid mode, so we will have an in-person and online class. So for this week one, we are going to learn about the English language learning process. For the learning outcomes, we are expected you to be able to understand the language learning process as well as later to describe and analyze it. For the activity one, we start with the activity one. We are going to focus on the language classroom. So I would like you to do the reflection and then make some things to ponder. First, about the learning environment. Learning environment is the environment that the student should have, especially in the classroom context, to be able to successfully learn the language. So what I'm going to ask you is to focus on a student-teacher relationship and also student engagement. I will provide you with 3 pictures of a typical classroom in Indonesia. I would like you to observe them and focus on a student-teacher relationship and student engagement. So for the first picture, you will see that the teacher give explanation or lecturing in the classroom while the student sits and then listen to her. So please, what kinds of relationship that they have, maybe you can think about whether it is teacher centers or student centers, and then if these kinds of classroom, whether there is possibility to have like student engagement or participation, or what kinds of it is if the classroom is in this kinds of situation. And then for the second picture, it's much more enthusiastic, where everybody laugh, and then the teacher kinds of having free activities with different kinds of tools and learning materials. So again, I would like you to think about what kinds of teacher relationship and then what kinds of student participation or engagement in these kinds of a classroom. And then for the third picture is a bit different because we have here additional technology as an additional in the classroom. So this classroom is already integrate technology in their teaching learning process. So with the technology in the classroom, again, will the relationship between the student and teacher different or the same? What kinds of relationship it is, and then what kinds of student participation that we are expect in these kinds of classroom. And to be understand more about language learning process, so I will provide you with the language learning theories. At least there are 2 basis theories here that I want to use. The first is the input theory by Crescent with I+1, and then also Vygotsky with the zone of proximal development. And then the second is when I see the language learning process here through SCTFL 3 modes of communication, that is interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational modes. And ICTFL is the American Council on the Teaching of a Foreign Language. So, input theory by Crescent using I+1 is that to acquire the language, learners need a slightly one level above their current language ability. Because if you teach the learners something that they already acquire, that will make them get bored. But if you give a too difficult language lesson, they won't understand that and it will demotivate them. And then Crossan also proposed that learners learn language through interaction, either with the teachers and the peers. And then for the zone of proximal development by Vygotsky, he proposed that learners acquire the learning when they get language input that is slightly more advanced than their current level. So this is similar to what is proposed by Krasen. And then the teachers is also considered as more expert language speakers or other expert language speakers is supposed to help the learner. They will give help for the learner through feedback and engagement. Vygotsky used the term social engagement with others as seen as a way to practice the language. So you cannot practice the language yourself, but you need someone else to practice it or produce the language. And then for the SCTFL, the first is interpretive mode, is how learners understand, interpret, and analyze what is heard, read, or viewed on a variety of topics. So this is considered as language input, and it is also as receptive skills. So this is when the learners access the language to comprehend it, right? This is how the teacher, giving the language, giving the language models so that the student can learn, or they can make kinds of give some materials for the student to understand and to comprehend. And then the second is the interpersonal mode. It is kinds of how learners interact and negotiate meaning in spoken, sign, or written conversation to share information, reaction, feelings, and opinions. So this is kinds of a dialogue between two parties, and it is not only in a spoken mode but also in a written mode. So what is the samples of interpersonal mode in a written way? So for example, when we make an instant message using the WhatsApp or using the SMS, so that's we are actually doing dialogue in the instant time to make a dialogue with other person. It is not just spoken way, but also in the written form. So this interpersonal mode is considered as language output or products. That is when the learners produce the language as a sign of language acquisition. And then the third is the presentational mode. That is how learners present information, concept, and ideas to inform, explain, persuade, and narrate on various topics using media adapting to various audiences of listeners, readers, or viewers. So this presentational mode is a monologue language. So you don't need to have a dialogue or like a question and answer. You say something and then someone else responds to you. So this is something that I do now, that having a presentation, giving you explanation about our course today. So I speak, but you don't need to respond me in the instant time. So this is a monologue language, but still it is language output because I produce the language. And this is when the learners produce the language as a sign of a language acquisition. So what is the relationship between the input theory and the SCTFL modes of communication? Because they are see the process of language as stages from giving the student language input and then giving a student time or opportunity to process the language in their brain, and also by making meaning negotiation and giving feedback to them so that they can internalize the language, so that the language input, the information that they get from the teacher, they can make so that they can make it into comprehension. So how they comprehend the language, and after they comprehend the language, they understand the language, then the teacher should also give opportunity for the student to make language output or to produce the language. That's by having conversation, discussion, dialogue, make a presentation using the English as a target language. And then that's the base for the activity 1 and will also useful for activity 2. So for the activity 2, we have a language learning process. I provide you with the YouTube links below or about the language teaching practice. Please watch the video and write a one-page response focusing on the language use. How the teacher use the language, whether they use English all the time or target language all the time, or they quit switch code between the target language and then the local language. And then I would like you also to see the teaching techniques, how the teachers give explanation or make the student understand the language, what kinds of technique they use. Do they use song, for example, or using other tools like whiteboard or different activities? Okay, and then for the responses that you are going to make for this first week is from activity 1. Please post in the discussion forum which picture in activity 1 is ideal classroom environment for language learning and why. And also you need to write a response to one of your friends' posts. For the activity 2, please make a one-page response to the video focusing on the language use and teaching techniques that the teacher used in the language classroom. For the detailed explanation about these responses, you can see it in assignments and in the assignment session in my class learning management. And then at the end of this my presentation, I would like you to make kind of a reflection, and then because I really want to see your expression, so you can use bahasa Indonesia in it. The question number 1 is, hal apa yang paling berkesan ketika belajar bahasa Inggris? Kemudian, hal terpenting apa yang harus dimiliki seorang guru bahasa Inggris? Sebutkan 2 hal saja. Untuk menjawab, silahkan klik link di bawah ini. Jadi sesudah melihat presentasi ini, silahkan untuk mengisi link Qualtrics di bawah ini. Thank you so much. I hope you learn from what I explained today, and have a good day. Goodbye.